Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be making the Crochet Chocolate Bunny. I am using Lion Brand's Heartland yarn and Sequoia, and then you're also going to need a size G 4mm hook for this bunny. And you can also find the free pattern over on my blog linked below. So let's go ahead and get started. You're going to start with a slip knot and then chain 26. And this is about how your chain should be looking. So row 1, we're going to single crochet into the second chain from our hook. And all the way across, so you should end with 25 single crochets. So while we're making the bunny pieces of this pattern, each row is going to be different, so I highly recommend you keep track of your stitch count every row and also your row count. So definitely consider using stitch markers here. And finishing up that last single crochet. That's how your first row should be looking. We're going to chain up 1 and turn, and then we're going to be working a decrease first for row 2. So insert your hook into that first stitch, pull up a loop, insert your hook into the second stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and then pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And then you're just going to single crochet all the way down for the remainder of the row, leaving you with a total of 24 stitches. And finishing up our row here, we're going to chain up 1 and turn, and then we're going to work another decrease first, starting with row 3, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 20 stitches. And then we're going to work a decrease into those last 2 stitches at the end of row 3. And chain up 1 and turn, beginning with row 4. We're going to just single crochet in the next 20 stitches. And then we're going to work a decrease in the last 2 stitches of the row. And chain up 1 and turn. And beginning row 5, we're just going to single crochet all the way across this row. And finishing up row 5 here, we're going to chain up 1 and turn, and then we are going to single crochet into the next 19 stitches. And work a decrease at the end of your row here, leaving us with a total of 20 stitches for row 6. Chain up 1 and turn, and now we are just going to single crochet all the way across for the next 3 rows. So rows 7, 8, and 9 are just plain old single crochet, and this is how it should be looking by the end of row 9. And then chain up 1 and turn, and beginning row 10, we are going to first begin with an increase. So 2 single crochet stitches into just the first stitch, and then just continue regular single crochets the rest of the way down, ending with 21 stitches. And finishing up row 10 here, chain up 1 and turn. And now for row 11, we're going to start with a decrease. And then we're going to just be single crocheting for the rest of the row, which should leave you with 20 stitches. And finishing up here, we're then going to chain up 1 and turn, and then beginning row 12, we're going to start with an increase. There's 1 stitch and 2, and then single crocheting for the rest of this row, leaving you with 21 stitches. And then beginning row 13, you're going to start with a decrease and then single crochet for the rest of the row, ending with 20 stitches. Chain up 1 and turn, and then beginning row 14, we're going to start with an increase. There's the second stitch of our increase, and then single crocheting in the next 17 stitches. And then we're going to end with a decrease here. Chain up 1 and turn. And now working row 15, we're going to start with a decrease and then single crochet for the rest of the row, which should leave us with 19 stitches. Chain up 1 and turn, and beginning row 16, we're going to start with an increase and then single crochet into the next 16 stitches. And then working a decrease last here in row 16. And then chain up 1 and turn, and beginning row 17, we are now going to work a decrease and then just single crocheting all the way across, leaving us with 18 stitches. And chain up 1 and turn. And then beginning row 18, we are going to start with an increase. And then just single crocheting all the way down, leaving us with 19 stitches. And chain up 1 and turn, beginning row 19. We are going to skip the first stitch and start working into the second with a decrease. And then we are just going to single crochet all the way down, finishing with 17 stitches. And chain up 1 and turn, and beginning row 20, we're going to start with a decrease and then we are going to single crochet into the next 13 stitches, leaving the rest of the row unworked. And so that's what it should be looking like. And then we are going to turn without chaining, skip that first stitch, work into the second, starting with a decrease. And then we're just going to single crochet into the next 9 stitches. And then we're going to work a decrease into the last part of this row. And chain up 1 and turn. So beginning row 22 here, we're just going to single crochet into the next 9 stitches. And then we're going to work a decrease, leaving us with a total of 10 stitches for the row. Chain up 1 and turn. And then beginning with row 23, we're going to skip the first, work into the second stitch, working a decrease first. And then we are going to single crochet for the rest of the row, leaving us with 8 stitches. And chain up 1 and turn, and beginning row 24, we're just going to single crochet all the way across. Chain up 1 and turn, and row 25, we're going to single crochet into the next 7 stitches. And then we're going to work an increase into the last stitch. So there's 1 and 2 stitches for our increase. Chain up 1 and turn. And row 26, we're just going to single crochet all the way across again. Chain up 1 and turn, and you should have 9 stitches at the end of that row. And this is how your bunny should be looking so far. So we're working up the neck part now, and then we're just going to single crochet into the next 8 stitches. This is row 27. And then we're going to work an increase in the last stitch here. And chain up 1 and turn. In row 28, we're just going to single crochet all the way across. Chain up 1 and turn. In row 29, we're going to single crochet into the next 9 stitches. Working an increase at the end here. Chain up 1 and turn. And row 30, we're just going to single crochet all the way down. Chain up 1 and turn. And row 31, we're going to start with an increase. And then single crochet into the next 9 stitches. And then we're going to work another increase into the end of that row. Chain up 1 and turn. And row 32, we're just going to single crochet all the way across. You should end up with 13 stitches at the end of this row. Chain up 1 and turn. And beginning row 33, we are just going to start with an increase. And then single crochet across. And then we're not going to chain at the end of this row. Just go ahead and turn your work. And then beginning row 34, you're going to skip that first stitch, working into the second. You're going to do a decrease. And then single crochet into the next 10 stitches. And then we are going to work an increase at the end of this row here. Chain up 1 and turn, and beginning row 35, we're just going to single crochet all the way across here, winding up with 13 total stitches. Chain up 1 and turn. And for row 36, we're going to skip that first stitch, working into the second with a decrease. And then we are going to single crochet into the next 9 stitches, working an increase in the last stitch here. Chain up 1 and turn. And now for row 37, we are going to single crochet into the next 8 stitches. And then we're just going to leave the rest of the row unworked. So that's how it should be looking. And then we're going to turn our work without chaining. And then we're going to decrease into that first stitch. And then single crochet into the next 5. Working an increase in the last stitch. Chain up 1 and turn. And now row 39, we're going to start with an increase. And then single crochet the rest of the row, ending with 9 stitches total. Chain up 1 and turn, and beginning row 40, we're just going to single crochet into the next 8 stitches. And then we're going to work an increase into the last stitch here. Chain up 1 and turn. And then for rows 41 and 42, we're just going to single crochet all the way across. And finishing up row 42 here. This is how your bunny should be looking. We're working up the ears now. Go ahead and chain 1 and turn. And beginning row 43, we're just going to single crochet all the way across. And row 44, skip that first stitch, working into the second, we're going to do a decrease. And single crochet the rest of the way across, ending with 8 stitches. Chain up 1 and turn. And now we're on row 45. We're going to just single crochet into the next 6 stitches. And then we're going to work a decrease in the last. Chain up 1 and turn. Row 46, we're just going to single crochet all the way down. And make sure you don't chain at the end of this row. And turn. And row 47, skip that first stitch, working into the second, we're going to decrease and then single crochet just into the next 2 stitches, work another decrease, don't chain, go ahead and turn, and then you're just going to work 2 decreases for row 48. Here's our second decrease. Go ahead and turn your work without chaining, and then you're just going to work 1 last decrease. And then we are just about done with the first piece of our bunny. Go ahead and chain 1. And we're about to start the outline. So we're going to go around the bunny twice, just cleaning up those edges. So we're just going to be single crocheting around the perimeter of the bunny. And I'm just trying to work 1 single crochet into the side of each row. And we're going to be working 3 single crochets into the same spot in a few different places, at the bottom 2 corners, at the nose, and the top of the ear. So here we are at the nose. I'm working 3 single crochets into the same spot just to really get a smooth curve over that bump. And then here I am at my first corner at the bottom. There's my 3rd single crochet. And then we're just going to work into the other side of our foundation chain here. And the other corner working 3 single crochets, and now here I am at the top of the ears working 3 single crochets. Almost ready to join my first round. And then we're just going to chain up 1 and then single crochet all the way around again 1 more time. And so here's that finished. Go ahead and trim that end and finish off. Yay, you're all done with your first bunny piece. So now you're going to need to make a second one the exact same way, except we're not going to finish off at the end of that second round around the perimeter. We are going to not break our yarn and go ahead and begin sewing them together. And just to save you a bit of time here, I've gone ahead and done that. I started stuffing my bunny when I was about halfway around the perimeter, and then I kept stitching up and stuffing with polyfill, stitching up the sides, stuffing with more polyfill until I got to about this point when I was almost done stitching up the top of the ear. And I just kind of mush it around a little bit to make sure that polyfill is nice and distributed evenly. And make sure you don't overstuff your bunny. If the stitches are stretching and you can see the polyfill through it, you've stuffed it too much. And so now I am finishing up here, stitching up the top of the ears. And go ahead and trim your end once you're all done and finish off. And go ahead and smush that polyfill one more time just to make sure it's nice and even. And now your bunny is almost done. This is what the main part of the body should be looking like. And now we're going to move on to making the accessories. So beginning with the neck ribbon, you can crochet one, and this is what it would look like. That's included in the free pattern over on my blog, linked in the description below. But I'm going to use an actual ribbon that I got from my local craft store, which I'll show you later. So moving on to making the rows, you're going to start with a slip knot. and go ahead and insert your hook into that loop and tighten it down. And then you are just going to chain 40. And so this is what your chain should be looking like. And then we are going to single crochet into the second chain from your hook, and then chain up 2 and skip a stitch, go into that second one and single crochet, chain up 2, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain up 2. You're just going to keep repeating that all the way down. So ending with a single crochet here, this is what your first row should be looking like. Kind of like a nice lacy pattern. And then we are going to chain up 2 and turn our work. So working into that first chain space that you see, we are going to be working 3 double crochets. So there's 1 and 2. And 3 double crochets. And then we are going to chain 1 and slip stitch still into that chain space. And then we are going to slip stitch into the next chain space. And that's what your first petal should be looking like. And now we are just going to repeat that sequence 4 more times. So the 3 double crochets into the chain space, chain 1, slip stitch into that first space, and then slip stitch into the next chain space. So here's me finishing up my 5th repeat. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals at this point. And now moving on to the next repeat, we're going to work 3 half double crochets into the next chain space. There's 3, and chain up 1 and slip stitch into that same chain space, and then slip stitch into the next. And then you're going to repeat that second half double crochet sequence 3 more times. And finishing up my 4th repeat, this is how it should be looking. So you should have 1, 2, 3, and 4 of those half double crochet sequences. And then working into our last chain space here, we're going to work 3 single crochets. There's 1, 2, and 3. And then we are going to chain up 1 and slip stitch into that same chain space. And then that second row is done. So this is how it should be looking. Go ahead and leave yourself a nice long tail for sewing, and then go ahead and trim your end and finish it off. And so now beginning with that first petal, the single crochet petal, we're going to begin rolling up our rows. Make sure that you're rolling it pretty loosely, kind of adjusting the petals as you go to make it look how you want. And then you should have a very flat spiral of your foundation chain on the back. And so now we're just going to begin sewing our rows into place. So go ahead and thread your tapestry needle and begin working from the center of the rows outward, just working through that foundation chain to sew your rows so that it keeps that nice spiral. And then you're just going to work all the way around, working from the center outward, and this is how your rows should be looking when you're all finished. And so now we're going to start making our leaf. Go ahead and start with a slip knot. And you're just going to chain 6. And then working into the second chain from your hook, you're going to single crochet. And then we are going to work a half double crochet into the next stitch. And then a double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 and a second double crochet into the next stitch. And then with 1 stitch left, we are going to work 5 double crochets all into that last stitch. And finishing up, this is how the first side of your leaf should be looking. And now we're going to begin working into the other side of our foundation chain. And now we're going to double crochet into the next stitch. And another double crochet into the next. That's how it should be looking. So coming around the bottom of our leaf here, and then working a half double crochet. And then lastly, a plain single crochet. So this is how your leaf should be looking, and then you're just going to chain up 2 and slip stitch to join that first stitch from the whole leaf. And then we're just going to trim our ends and finish off. And just go ahead and fluff out those stitches so that your leaf kind of starts to take the shape that you want it to. And this is how it should be looking. And so now we're just going to start assembling our bunny. So we've got our rose leaf, and I got this nice grosgrain ribbon in cream from my local craft store. So I'm going to use that as my neckband. And you want your end to be on the right side of your bunny. And I'm just going to double wrap it because, as you can kind of see in the video here, this ribbon is a bit see-through. So just to really get nice coverage, I went ahead and wrapped it twice. And just so you know how much you need, go ahead and wrap it around your bunny and then trim your ribbon. And now we're just going to hot glue it. So I hot glued it every couple inches at a time, smoothed it down, and then kept going. Make sure you're laying your ribbon carefully so that it's staying nice and straight. And then I just continued that all the way around. So here's how it should be looking. I gave my bunny just a couple minutes to cool before moving on. And so that's about the placement I want for the rose and the leaf. We're going to do the leaf first since that's being tucked underneath, and we're just going to cover up where our ribbon overlapped. So just grab a piece of thread and you're just going to tie it onto your leaf here. Making sure that knot is nice and secure. We're going to make sure we know the placement of our leaf. And then I started by just threading my needle underneath a couple stitches from the bunny. And now I'm just going to work it back through my leaf to begin attaching it to the bunny. And then I'm going to start working underneath the stitches behind the ribbon. And then just stitching back through the underside of the leaf. And then I'm just going to stitch through my leaf on either sides so that it stays exactly how I want it to be placed. And then I'm just going to finish off my sewing and trim those ends. And so now my leaf is all nice and attached, and now we're going to do the rows. And double checking where I want to place it, I'm just going to then thread a piece of yarn on the back side of my rows. And then tying a knot to make sure that yarn is securely attached. And now we're going to work underneath the ribbon. And this might be a little tricky to see, but just kind of do your best here. Keep in mind nobody's going to see the underside of the rose, so it's okay if it's not pretty. Go ahead and work through the rose to attach it down. And working back underneath the ribbon. And we're just going to keep doing this a few more times to make sure that our rose is nice and secure on our bunny. And once you're happy with the placement and sewing it down, go ahead and finish it off and then trim both of your ends. And you are all finished. And I hope you loved making this bunny with me. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thanks for watching.